Alt 98.7.
How we doing, Ryan?
I'm good. Gino, okay, so before we got on this, you said you were from Salem,
Yes,
New Hampshire.
correct,
And I have
correct.
a map of the world basically, and wherever I
Okay,
go, like if I'm in Pittsburgh, I look at pins on a map. So I
okay.
only have one pin near you. What do you know about America's Stonehenge?
Americans don't not much about it, to be fair. I know that we used to go there as kids as a field trip, and it was basically a thing that they would send us out there, and they would give us like a little worksheet to fill out, and it would have questions about what we had could figure out America's Stonehenge. But other than that, I don't
That's all you
remember
got?
much. That's all I
Because
have.
the Google Maps says it's a 4,000 can't make this up. 4,000-year-old astronomical calendar. 4,000-year-old
Four
astronomical
thousands,
calendar?
I
Wait,
guess.
okay, maybe featuring multiple man-made chambers, a gift shop, and alpacas.
And all I remember is going there for field trips. Don't
But do you
remember
remember
why.
the
I
alpacas?
do remember the alpacas, and now that you mentioned the gift shop, that unlocked a memory. I do remember the gift shop.
How do you sleep on the alpacas, man? Come on.
Oh
Well,
my
anyway, it's been
goodness.
great talking to you.
Thank you so
All right,
much
good.
for
Thank you.
doing
See you
this.
later.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
right. And we're done.
we're
Excellent.
done. We've got to alpacas.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for bringing that up. Unlocking all types of memories now in my mind.
Fair enough.
You guys have an album coming up May 17th, brand new album, first one in 5 years. I want to say congratulations on this upcoming release. Ooh la la. How does it feel to finally have a new album out, new music? I know you guys have been doing anniversary tours and more, which we can get into, but new music, is that exciting for you guys as a band?
Yeah, I mean, we just did a run, and it was we called it our Eras tour, and we started at
Yes.
the beginning and ended with the new songs, and it felt really good to like add a couple into the canon, and we've been playing some of these songs live for a while. A handful, like a third of the record's been on DSPs for over a month, and some people, we had a CD release party where we just printed CDs about a month ago too. So we're starting to get fan response, and it does feel really good to have people sort of respond positively to what we're doing after all this
Sure.
time. And yeah, it does feel good to have some new songs that we have to learn and how to put across. And these songs, I I listen to our albums like kind of nonstop. Like I know the albums, and the day it comes out, I pretty much never listen to them again. So I spent a lot of time with this album, and I'm super proud of it. I think our fans are going to really like it. I think it's going to stand up really well in our catalog.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of fatigue of like, well, this is your ninth album. How do you talk about it? You know what I mean? Bands
Yeah.
that I follow, I'm like, oh, Bell and Sebastian just released their 10th album. I'm like, cool, man. Like, so I get it. I get not the fatigue, but just like how to contextualize and build a narrative and a story around it. But I do think these songs are great. I just think it's a great collection of music.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And it's kind of, dare I say, your COVID album. I mean, people should know that you guys wrote this with the backdrop of apocalypse, right? The COVID times, and you guys were able to kind of to get creative in that process.
Yeah, I mean, we were really careful. We were tried to, we didn't want this to be a pandemic record that
Right.
was going to, and I'm not, being defensive at all. I'm going to agree with you in a second, but like
Sure.
we didn't, we didn't want this to be like tied to the pandemic, about the pandemic. I mean, our lyrics always tend towards the existential anyway. And there was an insane thing happening, as a backdrop for writing these lyrics and even getting together, where we were still in the era of testing, masking, isolating. It was like there was some risk and fraughtness around even just recording this album. But the songs, I think, you know, there's a lot of positivity and hope and optimism on the record, and I think in that
Definitely.
sense, like it could be sort of against the pandemic, but it's also just, you know, I gesticulate widely about and everything. There's just not a lot of, if you read the news, and just there is a lot of doom and gloom that's part of our everyday online lives. and
Hmm.
and I think that part of what I like to do sometimes is like, there is a lot of optimism in this record and our lyrics, and sort of acknowledging what's happening and seeing if there's a way, if the music can sort of help you through or help you digest it in some kind of way. I mean, it's a lofty goal. I don't know if that always
Sure.
works, but there are definitely people like that have lyrics tattooed on their body that speak to this. So I
That's
know
it.
I've done it before, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And that kind of leads to the lead single, Keep Going, kind of like a timely anthem, if you will, especially if you look into the circumstances that where it was written. Let's talk about the inspiration behind that song. I know they dabble a little bit here on alt with that song and playing it occasionally. What's the inspiration behind it? What should we know about Keep Going when we listen to it?
And this is sort of a weird one. It's like I had been I do a lot of stuff outside of the band, and I was writing with a friend in LA, and we were just like, oh, let's just write some songs because we like each other and we got along well in the studio. And I think we wrote like 5 songs, and I played them for the band. I was like, I don't know if you guys are gonna like any of these, but they really gravitated towards this, and we tried to figure out a way to kind of turn it more into a Guster song. Um, yeah, but it's a little bit of a sleeper. It's not. It wasn't gonna. I'm a little bit surprised that it was our choice for the first song that we released, but it actually
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense to me now, especially having people respond to it. Like there's sort of an ethereal quality. It's not really a straightforward song in a way, and then I think the most popular song that we have is a song Satellite, and it also kind of lives in this mid-tempo, like it's a universe that you can kind of step into. It's a little bit of a sonic universe, and
definitely.
there's not a lot of not a lot of world building within this song, but it does feel like a place where you can live, if that makes any sense. And that's, there's 1,000 songs that do that for me, where the second you put it on, it takes you somewhere, and not even necessarily because of your association with the song, but just when you hear a song, you're like, oh, this song makes me feel a certain way. And I think with this song, even just playing it for the band and being like, I don't know if you're gonna like any of these. And they were all like, oh, this song makes me feel something. And
Yeah, no,
that's the
definitely.
sort of ineffable, you know, non-logical, almost, pseudo-spiritual part of songwriting. Where like, I don't know why this works, or why this twist of phrase or this melody or this keyboard like makes me feel feelings, but there is something about that song, at least for us as a band, and I think now that is evoking that with fans and non-fans.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Was that kind of part of the process behind the whole album, Ooh La La, when it comes down to it? Kind of because it was a little bit of a departure from your last one. What was that? Look Alive. So it's definitely a different sound. There's definitely been an evolution made. What was the talking about that before that ended up happening, or was there?
Yeah, I mean, we've been a band for over 30 years. This is our
Yeah,
ninth record. Every album, either purposefully or not, is pretty much a reaction to the album before it. The first album was just making it. The second album was trying to actually wrap our heads around album making, which we don't think we succeeded too well. Lost and Gone Forever was our first real record that with Steve Lillywhite. And we're like, oh wow, we know how to do this. And then we stopped playing bongos, and then we went with Richard Swift, and a lot of it is in our producer choices helped bring this out. Our last album with Leo Abrahams, who works a lot with Brian Eno, we wanted something kind of non-vintage, non-warm, kind of like we had made a lot of records kind of chasing this 70s analog, warm, delicious sound, and we wanted to try something outside of that in a more like Peter Gabriel, a molecular way. And now I think having done that, it didn't feel like that was the right thing for this. These songs didn't want that production. They wanted heart, they wanted emotion, they wanted some imperfection, they wanted some warmth, but not necessarily in like an analog 70s kind of way. So
hmm
we're always moving, we're always trying to stay outside of our comfort zone. We're trying to keep ourselves scared. That's why we do things like build a off-Broadway show around a
yes,
tour, or do an improv comedy tour with our friend Connor, or play with orchestras, or play on a porch in Somerville. Like,
right.
all these things are just to kind of keep us so we get bored, because if we get bored, our fans are going to feel that, and that's the worst thing that can happen.
How let's talk about that. We also have Eras Tour. It sounded like it was a very unique and immersive experience, as you mentioned, not just playing music, but doing skits and acting and having some fun, kind of jumping a time machine and going all the way back to the beginning. That must have been a lot of fun for you guys. Maybe stressful, but fun.
Both, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. I mean, it was very, very, very stressful because there was nothing to look towards for. There was no like, oh, we'll just do like what this other band did, or like
sure.
there was no comparison. There's no comps in terms of like, oh, well, people are going to show up and then we're just going to start acting. And they were like, yeah. And then we're going to learn these lines, even though we've not actors. And then we're going to put in songs and then we're going to start acting again. And the backdrop's going to come out. We're going to change costumes. And then there's going to be props. And we got to hire a Broadway director to make sure we know what we're doing. And, but like the thing that fueled us and that always fuels us is in these situations is like, we put an incredible amount of love into the thing. Like it was really like there was nothing cynical about it. We really wanted to tell the story of our band in a very in a way that only we could, that that was vulnerable and self-deprecating and funny and celebratory. And we knew that even if we blew it, like if we forgot our lines or if a prop fell off the thing and all these things happened, that our fans would appreciate what we were doing, and they did, and it worked. So yeah, it was very scary to try, but it worked. I mean,
I think
the
it's great.
first night was in Austin, and we were like, shit, shoot, that worked. Like
Yeah.
it worked, and then it worked every night, and every night was different because every venue was different. But it was, I think it really empowered us to go, that thing I was just talking about, like going towards the fear and staying out of your comfort zone. It was like, how do we ever go back to just playing regular concerts
Right,
again?
right. Now you
Because there
set the
was,
bar.
yeah, because people that would like were just like that was, I've never seen anything like that. And
I've
like
never heard of anything like that. When I was reading about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry I missed it, because it does
yeah,
sound like absolute experience. And I can only assume, being a band for 30 years, you've had people that have been following you since the beginning. And for them
sure.
to be able to jump in, I know that you guys did the big finale show in Boston too, which is obviously your hometown. It's perfect to do that. That must have been just a really cool experience for those fans that have seen you from the beginning to be able to kind of relive it with you.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're very aware of the journey of the band at this point.
Mhm.
We're doing 3 anniversary shows for a 25th anniversary of our album Lost and Gone Forever,
Yep.
and we do dip into like albums when they kind of hit around a multiple of 5.
Sure.
Uh,
You have to,
and
right? Why not?
yeah, especially if we don't make a whole tour of it, and we have a bunch that we can come back, and it's really fun to dip in. And I love seeing bands do that too. I mean,
I agree.
there's 100 albums I love that I would kill to go see them do that album. Um,
Absolutely.
and wait, so I sorry, what was the question? I can get back to it
Well,
though
just
quickly.
talking about the fan
Yeah,
experience, being able
and
to grow with you.
yeah, I mean, I think we're just very aware of it at this point. You can't be 51 years old. Um, oh, sorry, my dad's calling. Okay. Um, you can't be 51 years old and having done this and not really contextualize the history, because we're not going to go out and play the 10 new songs for the album and 2 other songs and say thank you, good night. Like the
Right.
fan experience is very much a part of what every night show is and what our band is. So we're constantly trying to recontextualize where we've been and what the band means, and allowing there to be like, okay, but the story's not completely written yet. We're still kind of writing the story,
Mhm.
even though you've read Harry Potter, 1 through 5 50 times. Here's 6, and that can hopefully be part of the canon as you move right. I've never compared our band to Harry Potter before, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do that again. But I'm thinking that it might be
It's in the
a good
same vein. I got it.
for a few
I'm
people.
picking up what you were laying down.
The
I completely
scale is a lot less, and we're not transphobic. But
right. Yeah.
other than that, where are
You
you again?
yeah, we're in Chattanooga, Tennessee. You're all
Oh,
good.
Tennessee. Okay, cool.
You're good. You mentioned the 25th anniversary show. I do want to say that's the closest you'll come to Chattanooga. You'll be in Nashville in September for the 20th anniversary show, the 25th anniversary show of Lost and Gone Forever. So hopefully people will be able to go and see that. We want to pick up the album May 17th. Ooh la la. It comes out for us to enjoy. Ryan, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much. One final question, kind of reflection a little bit, because you have had the career that you've had over 30 years. As you guys continue to evolve as a band and you're exploring these new horizons, acting, and whoever else knows what will pop up, right? What do you hope will be the legacy of Guster when it is all said and done? You hang up that microphone and you're kind of all done. What do you want the fans to remember you as? How do you want them, what's that legacy going to look like?
That's interesting. I mean, I still feel like we could just keep going
You
for
should. Look
a
at the
long time.
Stones.
Yeah.
Look at the
I
Rolling
mean,
Stones. Why not?
I think there's a way to do it with elegance and with yeah, I mean, I hopefully the sincerity comes through, and I think part of it for me too is just appreciating the journey, like where we came from, of like that we did start as 3 friends in a dorm room, and that those records a lot of people have formed an opinion about the band in those first like 5 years or 10 years, but appreciating that we've come a long way as artists, as songwriters, as performers, as record makers, and I would hope that it would sort of, the legacy of like you can sort of go on this journey, and it can be a real journey, and you can still like surprise and delight all the way through. That there's a lot of exploring to be done. And I think a lot of it for me, along with this navel gazing, is like there's a tremendous amount of gratitude and humility that we even get to do this as a 51-year-old
Sure.
dad, that
Right.
that we can put up a Ryman show and it would sell out in a day, or go headline Red Rocks and with the Colorado Symphony and have that
Yep.
sell out, in a couple days for the second time. And that's just there's a lot of gratitude. We don't take that for granted. And I think it's kind of part and parcel with who we are, that we've continued to try and challenge ourselves. And even when we don't stick the landing, that people appreciate that there's some real gas in the tank to try and grow and be better as artists and record makers.
Nope, I think that's well said. And congratulations. And again, on all the success with the anniversary shows. Hey, you're having fun with it still, creating new music. And we're excited to hear Ooh La La in its full entirety. And then again, that comes out on May 17th. Ryan, we'll make sure to see you in Nashville. Have a great
All right,
time.
one thing. So
Okay, here we go.
should I go to America's Stonehenge?
I wouldn't bother. I'm not gonna lie. If you're gonna go in that area, you might as well just go and visit family.
I don't know, Gino. I'm gonna go
All right,
despite
I
your
mean-
protestations, and I'm gonna see the alpacas, and
Okay.
and I'm gonna find you, and I'm gonna take a picture
Please
of
do.
me and Jimmy the alpaca, and be like, Gino, you missed out. You missed out.
Just make sure you visit the gift shop. That's all I
Okay,
ask.
exactly. Exit through the gift shop. Of course.
There
Nice
you
to
go.
speak with you.
Alt 98.7.